Mountain God needs no donations, only worship please. Chapter 50. Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. I sat atop my mountain, looking towards the stars and pondering. With eldritch beings and people literally living on the moon, a man had to wonder, was there alien waifus in the depths of space? A century plus from now, will we find the Mass Effect relays and I have to deal with armies of aliens and the Reapers? Or hell, who knows, for all I know maybe the dimensional gap surrounds only Earth section of the subdimensional plane, so people couldn't just travel through the dimensional gap to reach a different world. With a soft flicker of movement, I heard Sakuya's hard-bottomed shoes elegantly step across the soft gravel top of my mountain that I had made softer so I myself and others could relax and look over Gensokyo at our leisure. I never thought of you as much of a brooder, Moria. Sakuya softly spoke as time skipped away, and with a flicker, she returned with a large thick blanket that was so overly stuffed with a thick filling that it was basically a futon And as I adjusted myself so I could lie down on it, Sakuya somehow even without a time skip had moved, so when I laid my head back down, she had moved her soft legs behind my head so she was giving me a lap pillow. Sakuya's thin fingers trailed through my hair that was like golden threads of light, and for a minute we merely shared silence before I spoke softly. I was thinking of the future. And I guess if there were more aliens, I half snorted and chuckled at the end, with Sakuya hiding her own snort behind a hand as her other hand remained entangled in my hair. My silver-haired maid was certainly better than Graphia Lucifuge in all ways, and I would fight any devil who dared say otherwise. Anyway, Sakuya hummed in thought before she continued my thought process. I don't know about aliens beyond the Lunarians. But beings from different dimensions had shown up in Gensokyo before, but they typically don't stick around due to leaving on their own or Yukari throwing them out when their warped logic starts messing with Gensokyo. Sakuya spoke almost conversationally while I just laid there with my eyes lidded in comfort at the feeling of Sakuya basically giving me a scalp massage. There was another silence, but instead, I opened my eyes and saw how Sakuya was staring down at me as our eyes met. A small flush crossed her face as her looking away from me and out across the large island of Gensokyo and the distant lights of the mainland's homes and businesses of Japan in the distance. I sighed, and with a finger, I gently tilted Sakuya's face to look back down toward me. And as her gray eyes looked down into my eyes, I spoke softly. Sakuya, I love you, I stated, and her face took on a deeper blush, with her frame becoming stiff with my form slightly pinning her in place, possibly being the only thing keeping her from time skipping away. But regardless, I spoke my mind. Our meeting was unconventional to say the least, but I trust you deeply, I care for you more. Could we see where this can take us more officially? I asked softly, and she bit the bottom of her lip in thought before she finally answered. Sakuya nodded as a hand came up to her face and held the hand I used to make her look at me, with her hand holding my palm to her cheek as she spoke softly. Yes, Moria. I in turn have to come to like you regardless of our first meeting. She finished a bit wryly before she smiled sweetly and continued. My mistress Remilia and the rest of the Scarlet Devil Mansion also adore you, so there is no conflict there. With Sakuya having finally answered, I sat up from her lap pillow, with her actually pouting a bit at not being able to play with my hair that I crafted to be as soft and silky as possible when I made my body anymore. But either way, I sat in front of Sakuya with a wry smile as I spoke. And how do you think Remilia would react to hearing of us courting? I asked jokingly. Sakuya's face twitched before she giggled, and she spoke with a small smile aimed at me as she laughed at my own misfortune. Oh, you mean more like, how is Flandra going to react when she learns you are keeping me away even more? She pointed out, and I chuckled at the thought of the overly busty vampire pouting and shaking me childishly while demanding why I was stealing Sakuya away even more. We both shared a laugh at the thought of Flandra throwing a little tantrum, and then I froze as I felt the barriers I made that separated old hell and Earth's underworld buckle under a sort of conceptual spear that I most certainly fucking recognized, along with the thick dimensionally distorting mist of another little asshole I remembered. Sakuya here, I said coldly, handing her sheath of respawning knives. Someone is breaking the barrier into old hell to force it into the underworld, I said, frowning at the moment being ruined. And Sakuya herself was clearly angry, as well as her eyes glowed red with her time-skipping powers clearly on the edge of being activated as I took us to old hell, as I saw my dwarves and the Oni already fighting devils and fucking fallen angels of all things that came through the many gaping holes in the barriers Chow Chow and his fuckboy George had made.